Up through the construction zone, continuing over White Oak Mountain. At times it gets crowded on APD 40 right there at I-75 in Cleveland. Stop and go Highway 58 going outbound back out into Harrison. Blackstone Grill is Chattanooga's new restaurant that's now open 3018 Cummings Highway. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
From the Alon Planning Partners Weather Center, here's your forecast on ESPN Cleveland 1013. Visit them online at alonplanning.com or give them a call at 423-315-1441.
First part of your day is going to be quiet with temperatures climbing into the upper 80s, mix of sun and clouds. After 8 p.m. until about 1 o'clock Wednesday morning, we're going to track a line of storms that will contain damaging wind gusts, hail, and the potential for a few spin-up tornadoes. So make sure you have the Local 3 weather app downloaded and be weather aware on this Tuesday.
Your current Milligan Vane temperature is 86 degrees. MilliganVane.com. This weather forecast is brought to you by Whirlpool.
Thank you for choosing Whirlpool, where we are committed to being the best global kitchen and laundry company in constant pursuit of improving life at home. For more information on Whirlpool, please visit whirlpool.com.
ESPN Cleveland 1013 is powered by Duracell.
For care you can feel confident about, trust Erlanger Medical Group. More than 500 exceptional providers backed by the region's healthcare leader, Erlanger. Call 423-778-DOCS. That's 778-DOCS.
Hey guys, this is Dan Good from Crown. Just reminding you that Crown Ram is Cleveland and Bradley County's Ram headquarters.
You're listening to Paul Feinbaum on ESPN Cleveland 1013. The Drive is coming up. The ESPN Cleveland 1013 lineup is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. WholesaleSupply.us.
Define your tomorrow at Cleveland State Community College. Voted the #1 college in your county, Cleveland State has something for everyone: in-person, online, and hybrid classes. You can take your classes when, where, and how you want. Choose the option that's right for you. Apply now. To find out more about the programs Cleveland State has to offer, go to registration.clevelandstate.cc or call 423-473-2321. Fall semester is just around the corner, so don't wait. Define your tomorrow at Cleveland State.
Hey, Andy Morris here. Join me along with my co-host on The Drive, presented by Hardees, weekdays at 5 p.m. on ESPN Cleveland 1013. Cleveland and Bradley County's local sports show, weekdays at 5 on ESPN Cleveland 1013.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 1013, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 1013.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no style. Got a thirst for killing. Think your body.
Welcome back to The Drive. Excited to be here. Andy Morris once again with Jim Gum, who's back in the building. Jim's had a busy weekend. I know you're kind of decompressing a little bit from that.
Man, I have had a moment. I mean, last Friday was busy. Saturday was busy. Yesterday, I was actually playing in a golf tournament, so I had a little fun yesterday. I don't know if you've ever played at the Macklemore Club.
I have not.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'll tell you this. Anyone out there is listening. Number 18 at Macklemore, they say is the #1 finishing hole in the United States of America because of the view from way up there off the mountain, and it was spectacular. And considering I haven't played much golf at all this year, I played really well yesterday. I was very happy, but just a great time. But glad to be back here, though, because, man, I was missing talking about some of the stuff going on. And, a lot of stuff happened over the weekend, some stuff yesterday, and there's all sorts of news going out there as far as baseball, we got college football news, we've got transfers and college basketball. Florida gets stronger, and listen, there's always stuff that's going on behind the scenes. You got the Olympics are going to have flag football. You got the NFL now giving their grace to allow NFL players to play in it. I don't know if you'll have to have a bunch of NFL guys. You may have some college guys that aren't good enough to play in the NFL, but maybe they're outstanding as far as flag football. Who knows? But that's a ways off. All sorts of fun stuff out there. And then you hit me with this, which I'm loving this. We got to give our college football our all-time team. We're going to do tight end, running back, wide receiver, and quarterback. So I'm working on that even as we speak. So looking forward to that. But there's a lot of fun stuff going on out there.
In all fairness to you, obviously Jacob and I made our picks early, and we kind of had it even where we were going back and forth. And we had planned on having you jump in and then have the first selection of picks through all positions to kind of even it out. Well, then Josh Rogers jumps in on this thing as he filled in for me yesterday. and I'm looking at this, and I feel bad because I know there's some names on here. And I know you and I kind of – Josh threw me under the bus yesterday, called me the oldest of the group. He hadn't met Jim Gum, though, has he?
Oh, I did a show with Josh before.
Well, I'm talking about yesterday.
No, yesterday, correct.
Because he said that I was the old guy on the show. And I said, time out. Jim Gum's a part of this show, too.
I've got everyone beat when it comes to that.
But it is funny, though, because you and I said this before we went on air today. We're kind of on the same wavelength on this thing because, I love the history of college football, much like you. And when it comes to college football, I would put Jim Gum up against anybody to talk history, results, debate. You're pretty much a college football savant, in my opinion.
Well, I love college football. And listen, Andy, I'm going to tell you something. There's, Father. I've said this before. Father Time is undefeated, and yeah, I've got a lot of history on my side. But I'll tell you the one good thing. The one good thing about getting older is you get to tee off from the senior tees. And brother, I'm telling you, there are times when it's a huge advantage. And yesterday I took advantage of it. I mean, I hit several balls that. Obviously, if I was hitting back where the other guys were hitting it, they wouldn't have used my tee shot. But, I got a 50-yard advantage, I'm hitting 50 feet further or 50 yards further sometimes. And so I hit the ball, and I was hitting the ball really good yesterday. So that was the only good thing about getting older is that you're teeing off from the senior tees. But as far as, the college football, I go all the way back to the early 70s all the way to the present. And I believe that with great nutrition and the advantages of sports medicine, a lot of the guys that were dominant in the 70s would have been dominant today, obviously because they didn't have the advantages as far as sports medicine and nutritional things that go on nowadays and weight training. I believe a lot of these guys would have been bigger, stronger, and faster had they been born later on in this world. So, but there was a lot of great football players that, man, you're talking about getting only 2 tight ends, two running backs. I mean, I could sit here and rattle off about 10 of them. We are going to do 4 wide receivers and 2 quarterbacks. That's going to be hard. And we're trying to not have any of the same. So, we're looking at other guys' picks and we're like, okay, I would have picked him.
That's why I feel like you're at a disadvantage being the last one to pick all positions. And I know there's some names on here. Obviously,
Tim Tebow. I would have picked him.
Ted Ginn Jr. is one that I really liked, and then once I picked him, I was like, you know what? I bet Jim would have picked him, and I kind of felt bad about it.
No, that's all right. Listen, it is what it is. But there's so many good options out there. I don't feel like anyone's going to have a bad team. You're like, well, this team would have been better at running the football. Maybe we'd have had a dual threat quarterback on one, and maybe a classic drop back quarterback in another. And then as far as running backs. I mean, for crying out loud, some of these guys, it all depends on the blocking up front. You know that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and state this. My running backs, I picked Warwick Dunn and Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams is a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams was an unbelievable talent at Texas that could – and this was in an era of Big 12 football where they actually played a little bit of defense.
Yep.
The late 90s Big 12 was very, very different. That was linebacker-heavy Big 12 football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ricky Williams, I mean, he was a great running back for Texas. And, so he would have been a guy that I would have considered him. I honestly, I don't think I would have picked him 1 or 2, but he'd have been top 5.
Yeah, so that's how I feel. Josh Rogers comes on this show. And first of all, the day I made the pick before he came on the show, just completely called my picks idiotic at running back. Ricky Williams was nobody. And I'm glad you said it without prompting. One of the top 5 running backs probably in the history of college football. Now, is Warwick Dunn my other pick? No, but my mindset was, first of all, these are some of the best running backs. Warwick Dunn may be 12. He may be 15. He may be number 20 on that list. But I liked watching him play. I enjoyed Warwick Dunn's college and professional career. That's why I picked him. And I went with a little bit of thunder and lightning in that scenario. Josh Rogers absolutely unloaded on me for not taking Bo Jackson. Which, listen, if I were to Google best players of all time, I could go down the list and have the best team. That's not the point of this. And that was clearly stated before we started this thing, and Josh did not care. He said, I'm going to make Andy Morris look like an idiot. And listen, there might be a lot of people that agree with him.
It's all about the way you feel about it. And none of these are wrong. None of these are right. Obviously, Bo Jackson, one of the greatest running backs I've ever seen in my life at both the collegiate level and at the NFL level. But that doesn't mean there aren't other guys that are really, really good. I mean, Eric Dickerson, for crying out loud. Come on. Was Bo Jackson better than Eric Dickerson? Maybe, but it ain't by a lot.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if I had Eric Dickerson on my team, I'm feeling pretty darn good about my running back situation.
So I know this is kind of the pick on Josh segment on my end right now as we get today's show started. Once again, you're listening to ESPN Cleveland 101.3. We're also streaming on Facebook, mixtv.tv, on YouTube as well. So glad to have all our listeners with us today. But looking at Josh's running backs, Bo Jackson and Archie Griffin, that's unbelievable. That's probably, of all of us.
That's 3 Heisman trophies.
Yeah, of all of us to this point, you've not made your running back picks yet. But that's probably the best running back room. Jacobs is pretty solid. Herschel Walker and Reggie Bush.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You can't slight that one either.
No, it's pretty. That's what they say, strongest battery acid.
Yes.
Right?
And so... But then he uses that logic that he used against me to come on this show yesterday and bash me on air about my running back picks. And then he proceeds at the quarterback position to pick Case Keenum from Houston and Graham Harrell from Tennessee Tech. Texas Tech, excuse me. Of all the quarterbacks he could have chose from, he picked 2 Big 12 quarterbacks from a Big 12 era that they decided not to play defense anymore.
Well, he put those 2 guys put lots of big numbers on the scoreboard. Lots of passing yards, lots of touchdown passes.
So did Timmy Chang and Colt Brennan.
That's right. You're right.
So, But who are we playing?
But you're against mediocre defenses or questionable defenses. I get maybe they just were they accumulated a lot of big stats.
Listen, this show is on YouTube. You can go back and watch it. I got bashed for Ricky Williams and Mr. Rogers. I'm calling him Mr. Rogers right now. Takes Case Keenum and Graham Harrell at his quarterback position. Give me a break.
Well, my 2 quarterbacks are going to be, one of them accumulated pretty good numbers because he played for 4 years. The other one was the most athletic quarterback I've ever seen in my life at the collegiate level. And,
wow. So Michael Vick was one of mine.
Oh, is that not on the board?
Hey,
okay,
listen,
I'll have to.
Okay,
I can do that. I can go again.
I thought that's where you're going, and so my quarterbacks were Peyton Manning and Michael Vick.
Okay, I'll scratch Michael Vick. I'll come up with another one.
Listen to Jacobs' quarterbacks: Tim Tebow and Cam Newton. That's pretty solid, and those guys were teammates at Florida.
Yeah, until there was a little laptop incident.
Listen, I need to call Cam Newton right now because I'm having some issues with my laptop. He might have an extra one on hand or something.
Yeah, listen out there. If you're hearing pounding over the airwaves, that's this gentleman right here pounding on his keys, and he's wondering why this key isn't working. Well, you're hitting it with a hammer.
Specifically, the M key on my laptop. I guess I typed my last name too much or something. I don't know, but I finally got it working. But maybe that's also a little hate for Michigan between the Notre Dame and Ohio State guy.
I've been eating there were some crumbs down inside of there that's preventing them from working.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. I don't eat or drink over the keyboard. I keep it clean. Listen, even in my desk, I've got the can of the canned air to keep it cleaned out.
Clean it up.
Apparently, this thing's just ready to bite the dust. I don't know.
Hey, man, once a key goes bad on a keyboard, a lot of times you're just out of luck. Now, with you, this is a laptop, so you're really out of luck. At least with a desktop, you can just throw the keyboard away and get you another keyboard. Yeah, everything else is still good to go.
So one other key that's not working on my laptop is the C, but I think I've got it going now. It seems to be working. But so I was typing Josh's picks in here, and Michael Crabtree has no C's in it. It's all I'm using the letter K just because I couldn't get.
He's phonetically spelling it right now.
Yeah, listen,
Crabtree.
That's some ghetto typing right there is what that is.
Oh my gosh!
But,
so when are we going to at the end of the show? We're going to release ours. That gives me a little time to replace Michael Vick with someone else and come up with another couple wide receivers. So
yeah, we got to give you some time. And listen, I'm going to help you out at that receiver one right now. We talked about this. I believe it was your last show with us, and at receiver, how many people are more electrifying than Rocket Ishmael? You mentioned that.
He was so fun to watch.
That's a good one to pick on there. I left him out there because I took Tim Brown. I didn't want to go Notre Dame heavy. I took Heisman Trophy winner Tim Brown at receiver. So yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was good, man. You know, I've got an actual. He's not the, and I'll tell you, I'm just going to hint. He's not the greatest or the most. I guess the wide receiver at Tennessee that had the most awards. But he was my favorite Tennessee wide receiver, and he played for the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL.
Was that Kelly Washington?
Nope. Carl Pickens.
Oh, Carl Pickens, yeah.
Loved that guy.
He was
a two-way player. Everyone talks about the lack of the two-way players. Carl Pickens played a little two-way at Tennessee. I love this guy when he was at Tennessee. And he was a great pro as well. But he's going to be one of my wide receivers, and I'm throwing that out there. Loved Carl Pickens.
Man. Yeah, he was phenomenal in his time at Tennessee. And he's kind of part of that generation that got them started as being known as wide receiver U.
Yeah.
And then we saw it trickle on down to guys like Marcus Nash, Peerless Price. I struggled because I really liked Peerless Price. I was a big fan of Peerless Price. Just such a likable person off the field during a time where you didn't have a lot of access to players like you do now with social media and things of that sort. Peerless Price was so just captivating on the field, but just likable as a person. Just seeing the way he interacted with newspaper writers and stuff. He was a fun guy on that Tennessee team. So he's a guy that didn't make my list at receiver, but was really close. And so Jacob had the idea too that we're going to post all our picks and let people vote by position group who has the best position groups.
Yeah. I know Willie Gault was he was a better wide receiver, and I'll grant you that. But to me, I just love the physicality that Carl Pickens brought. He was big, strong, and he would fight to get open and fight for the ball. And I just love that kind of wide receiver, big, thick, strong wide receiver who can go up there and get the ball from a DB like that or safety. So I like guys like that. Don't get me wrong, I like the Smurf wide receivers as well. But man, when it comes to football, if I've got any type of doubt, I always go, give me the bigger guy. I've always been like that. Hey, if you got two quarterbacks and they're both very, very good, I'm like, who's the bigger of the two? And I've always been like that. I'm like, I want the bigger guy because I feel like the bigger you are in football, the more pounding you can take because you're going to get hit and you're going to get pounded.
That's a lot of worry behind Travis Hunter.
Right.
He's so small.
And that's how it was. I've seen that a million times at the quarterback position. A little small guy, maybe only about 6 foot tall. And I'm sitting there going, well, can he see over the line? Can he take the hits? Bryce Young, when it came to C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, a lot of people going both ways. I'm like, and I'm not going because I'm an Ohio State guy, but I'm like, give me the bigger guy.
Yeah.
I like that. And I always err on the side of like, I'm going to go with the bigger, thicker, and the stronger guy in football because I feel like they've got a better chance to hold up throughout this season.
Well, that's funny because I've kind of been the opposite. Not out of preference, but the guys that I pull for, big Eric Crouch guy. I loved watching him run the offense at Nebraska. Not a very big guy. Doug Flutie, who you mentioned.
So I'm gonna completely ignore my thought process when I come. I love Doug Flutie.
I do too. And a guy who had a long career in professional football between the NFL and the Canadian Football League.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I've always pulled for those guys. Drew Brees.
Yeah, exactly.
And Drew Brees.
There are exceptions out
lost
there.
a contract because of how tall he was, and then went on to New Orleans and was probably one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history.
Second most passing yards in NFL history.
Is that not unreal?
I mean, this guy. You look at him physically, you're like, I don't want that guy. He couldn't throw the ball a long ways. But maybe the most accurate passer I've ever seen was Drew Brees, just pure accuracy. But he had, he was one of those guys where you're like, what a career he had, but you'd never look at him like, especially I've never seen him with his shirt up, but I'm sure he's not imposing.
Yeah.
You'd go, I don't want that guy.
His draft picture probably looked like Tom Brady's.
Oh, yeah, Tom Brady
bod.
coming out of college. He
Dad
had
bod physique.
zero.
He didn't know where the weight room was.
Yeah, he had nothing that stood out when Tom Brady's his draft photo coming out of Michigan. But you got guys like that.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, we all know Jamarcus Russell, maybe the strongest arm I've ever seen.
Monster at LSU.
Couldn't read a defense, man. If
Wouldn't
you cannot
study a
read,
playbook either.
If you can't read a defense, you can't play a quarterback in the NFL. You can get away with it in high school and a little bit in college. You can't get away with it at all in the NFL because they're so intricate and so detailed.
Too complicated of a system in the NFL. But hey, real quick, talking some football locally, high school football today. Bradley spring game. They're hosting Ray County. That game will be at 7 o'clock, so going to get to see the Bears on the gridiron for their spring game. Obviously, last week, Walker Valley over McMinn Central 42-8 in their spring game, so kind of starting to get that itch for high school football going here in Bradley County. And listen, there's a lot of buzz around the Bears this year, and with some guys that have moved in and some pieces that are. Listen, this is going to be a dangerous football team.
I think they're going to be dangerous, but I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to seeing Cleveland because we don't know about them.
Yeah.
New coach, what are they going to be like? I know that we're both interested in seeing how they do. So, I think all three teams in this county are going to be very, very good. But we don't know anything about Cleveland, and that's almost
it's a
scary.
Secret. It's a
but
secret.
It's fun at the same time. We'll see what that all. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Cleveland, because you kind of know what we got in Bradley and Walker Valley because
you saw the talent,
continuity, the
talent that Cleveland had last year. And listen, all credit to Coach Chandler Tygard, who's no longer with the program, but did a good job with that team.
Did a good job.
That was a solid team with good athletes. So Chris Brown coming in, first-year head coach, everyone knows his track record. It's success, success, success. Yeah. Give them time, but I think they're going to be dangerous. I really do.
Yeah, so like I said, I can't wait till football season's right around the corner, man. It really is. You think about it. In a week and a half, it'll be June. I mean, come July, high school football starts 1st of August.
Starting the countdown.
The 1st of August, you got high school football games coming on around. So it's right around the corner, man.
Yeah, listen, give Damon Floyd a healthy quarterback. And look out. His offenses have always been tough-nosed. They play tough up front. They've been able to run the football well. Last year, they morphed into such a great wing T team, and that's not even what they were made to be. That's not.
It was forced on them.
Yes, and listen, it came around at the end of the season, so excited to see that wrinkle in with what he's going to do out of the spread as well. So, again, tonight, 7 o'clock, Bradley facing Ray County, which you talk about Ray County. Coach Harvey has done a phenomenal job at Ray County. Obviously, his defensive intelligence is at another level. So, good matchup for a spring game, I think.
Yeah, I would think it'd be a very competitive game. I would assume that both teams are going to be pretty darn good offensively, and they both always bring it on the defensive side too. So should be an entertaining game. So if you've got nothing else to do out there, go to Bradley and watch that game, right?
Yeah, so we've got actually a lot to cover today. I don't know if you looked at the game plan, the playbook.
I have.
But we're probably not going to be able to get to all this, but there's some big stuff going on. Real quick before we go to break, I'll throw this one out there. The Chattanooga Mocs have extended men's basketball coach Dan Earl with a 6-year contract, very well deserved after winning the NIT.
It is well deserved, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the university. Of course, we know that if a big-time program wants him, they'll still be able to get him. They'll just have to pay a lot more to the school to do that. So good for him. I like him. I like Dan Earl a lot. I would love to see him have a lengthy career at UTC, kind of like what Mac McCarthy did. Whether he will or will not remains to be seen. If he has another really, really successful season in 25-26, then you'll see some of the bigger schools come sniffing around. Not to say they didn't sniff around this year, but they were playing so long, so deep into the season, or, it really hurt his opportunity to maybe land a job at a bigger school, which is good for UTC. Selfishly, I'm glad. But I think that he's got, listen.
He's on people's radar.
He's on people's radar. That's a good way to put it. He's on a lot of radars. People are going to say, let's look at this let's look at this guy and see what he does again there in Chattanooga. So hopefully, Dan Earl is successful and can stay at UTC, but we all know that money speaks. It really does.
Yeah, some other news. A local guy, Chattanooga area, Kevin Ward, former Saudi Daisy High School wrestler, went on wrestled at Oklahoma State. Recently has been the head wrestling coach at Army West Point. Just announced by Oklahoma State University that he has been hired as an assistant coach / GM, from my understanding. So with this NIL era and the portal, these teams got to have general managers basically, and that's going to be his role. So some big news in the wrestling community for Kevin Ward, Saudi Daisy state champ wrestler, wrestled at Oklahoma State, coming back to his alma mater to be the GM and an assistant coach for Olympic gold medalist head coach David Taylor.
Listen, Oklahoma State, one of the 5 top wrestling programs in this country. Penn State's up there, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. I mean, you could flip a coin. One of those 4 schools are usually fighting for the national championship each and every year. So Oklahoma State's a great program. So good for him.
Yeah, huge hire for Oklahoma State, and a local guy here in the wrestling scene that our wrestling fans are aware of. So big news there. Hey, with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into some Atlanta Braves baseball. We're talking about all this college football. We're obviously going to dive more into that because there's so much going on in the world of college football, between some conferences paying out some money, ACC, starting to treat their teams a lot better. And then also we're going to talk some rivalries and the state of rivalries in college football with conference expansion when we come back.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented. The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
This is John Davis, the trade-in man for Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway, announcing our Memorial Day 10 event. We're honoring our fallen war heroes and those who have served by giving everyone the best deal that we can. In fact, any trade goes. We'll take any trade in any condition and give you $7,000 over Kelly Blue Book fair value toward the purchase of any new Kia Sorento EX in our huge inventory. Plus, we'll get you out of your old clunker, even if you have months left or still owe thousands. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Kia Cleveland is the home of credit forgiveness. Don't forget, I'll beat any deal from anywhere in Georgia, Tennessee, or Alabama. Come see me, John Davis, the trade-in man, and we'll be open all day Memorial Day under the tents at Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee, where getting the best deal is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Looking for the dealer who's gonna give you more. Kia of Cleveland Superstore.
Negative trade equity finance and new loan subject to lender approval, expires month end.
KiaofCleveland.com.
Hardee's Original Bag packs 2 full-size favorites, plus fries and a drink starting at $5.99. Pair any 2 items. Choose from a charbroiled double cheeseburger, hot ham and cheese, or hand-breaded chicken tender wrap. Or choose 2 double cheeseburgers for just $1 more. A great big bag of original goodness starting at just $5.99. Only at Hardee's. Download the Hardee's app and join My Rewards for special offers. These items only, tax not included. Price and participation may vary.
It's the Cleveland Tire Center annual Memorial Day sale. Buy 3 tires, get the 4th free with a free alignment check. Teachers, first responders, 10% off your purchase. Bridgestone, Firestone, and Goodyear. The Cleveland Tire Center Memorial Day sale on now. Cleveland Tire Center, North Lee Highway, Cleveland.
Got an injury that just can't wait? There's no need to delay your care. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is excited to announce that our Urgent Ortho Walk-In Clinic is now available on Saturdays at the Gun Barrel Road location. Open from 8 to noon, we're here to treat sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. So skip the long ER wait and get specialized orthopedic care fast. Visit us this Saturday at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Urgent Ortho. We're the center for expert care right when you need it. Learn more at sportmed.com.
Check out the great savings this May at Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. 0% APR on all 2025 Nissan Pathfinders, plus just 2.9% on 2025 Rogues and 3.9% on 2025 Sentra, Altima, Kicks, and Murano. And Nissan has additional bonus cash offers of up to $3,000 on brand new 2025 Altima, Rogue, Frontier, and Pathfinder. Want to trade in your old car? Nissan is giving up to $5,000 over trade value when you trade, and they'll buy your car even if you don't buy theirs. Stop in person on exit 20 off of I-75 or online at cleveland-nissan.com. Payments are per month for 75 months. Does not include tax tag, title, or dealer doc fee. Must finance through the dealer subject to credit approval and pick from new dealer stock.
Whirlpool Cleveland is currently hiring for entry-level production roles. Starting pay $18.25 per hour, jumps to $19.35 per hour after 90 days. Benefits start on day one, including medical, dental, vision, 401k, life insurance, and more. 120 total hours of paid time off. 10 hours the first 3 months. Remaining balance after 90 days. Apply at jobs.whirlpool.com. Jobs.whirlpool.com.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
You're listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. I hope everyone out there is having a great Tuesday. Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians, $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning on day one. Medical, dental, and vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. And before we get back into talking about Braves baseball, let's update you on the 2025 SEC baseball tournament being played in Hoover, Alabama. Alabama defeated Missouri 4-1, so they advanced to play the Tennessee Vols tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central. And then Oklahoma, they put Kentucky out with a 5-1 win. The Sooners will play Georgia. That game will be played tomorrow following the Tennessee-Alabama game. Now, the one thing to consider, there's a lot of bad weather coming in, so you may see one of the later games in the SEC tournament, like Mississippi State, Texas A&M, could be postponed, and that would be played tomorrow, which would push everything else back. So they always know there's always a chance for weather interruption. So we'll see if everything goes according to plan or you get some disruption. So good for Alabama and good for Oklahoma to get the W's today.
Yeah, speaking of weather, this was announced just a couple hours ago. But, of course, the spring fling getting started up in Murfreesboro. And talking about softball, the Lady Mustangs, the feisty Phillies, were scheduled to play Page today. That game has been moved to tomorrow. So that game has been canceled today and moved to tomorrow due to the threat of severe weather and rain up there. Currently, I believe it is raining, but they're watching the radar. It's supposed to be some pretty rough weather up there this evening. So, again, Walker Valley Lady Mustangs, the feisty Phillies, as they call themselves, are up there in the state tournament getting prepared to play Page. So that game, I'm assuming, will be the same time, 2 Central, 3 Eastern tomorrow.
Right. So weather this time of year, we all know, can cause havoc when it comes to outdoor sports. I mean, for crying out loud, you were at J-Fest this past Saturday. You saw what a quagmire that field was. It is what it is, man. I mean, weather affects a lot of things outside, but we all love being outside, so it is what it is.
And in those situations, we continue to live life. We trudge through it. We fight on. And listen, have paid the price.
Yes,
the past couple days.
Yeah, listen, when you're coming off of a serious knee injury like you did and walking on unlevel ground wet, unlevel ground. That's
sliding
tough.
in mud.
It's tough. I mean, I'm glad you didn't hurt yourself again, man.
Yeah, speaking of coming off of severe knee injuries, Ronald Acuna Jr. Set to play 9 innings in the outfield before being activated. I think they're going to continue to do this play, rest until he rejoins the Braves, and then I think he's an everyday guy, and I would expect to see him back in the Braves' next homestand. So they want him playing a full 9 innings out in the outfield before they bring him back to the big club.
You know, it's so ironic that we were talking about Ronald Acuna. Remember that time where he hit the ball and he didn't hustle out of the box, and he got pulled from the game. Well, last night, Juan Soto hits a ball to the Green Monster. He stood there at home plate, admired it. Ball hits off the Green Monster. He's held to a single. Would he have gotten a double? Maybe, maybe not. I've seen a lot of guys hit the ball off the Green Monster and held to singles, but it's the fact he didn't bust it out of the box. And that's just a bad look.
And the Mets fans are irate over
and they should be irate. They're paying this guy over 15 years, $500 million.
Year one.
Busted out of the box.
Year one.
Yep.
And I heard a stat today. He's only played 2% of the games he's going to play as a New York Met. And the fans are already freaking out over the way he's playing the game. That is why, as a Braves fan, I was ecstatic when they said, we're going to pay Juan Soto $700 million to be a New York Met for the next 15 years. You know what? Some of my favorite players who I would, to this day, argue are all-time greats at year 15, and this guy's been in the league for, 8 years already?
Yeah.
15 years from now, they're going to be taking him out there for ABs with his walker.
And listen, they're going to be hoping he hits the ball as a DH, because when he's 41, 42 years old, he's not going to be a great outfielder. Yeah. We all know that.
Listen, the Mets are going to Met, man, and what a great way to get that started, that relationship between Juan Soto and the Mets fans.
Well, when I see a Juan Soto sign a big contract like that, my big fear is a Ronald Acuna. He's going to go, hey, Braves, I want to be paid like he's getting paid. Ellie De La Cruz, the Reds. Hey, I want to get paid what Juan Soto's getting paid. That's the one thing I sit there and I go, oh, boy. Because you know it's coming.
You're opening a can of worms with those massive contracts. And listen, Mark DeRosa and Brian Kenny on MLB Network this week even brought that up, saying, how dumb were the Braves for not giving Freddie Freeman the $200 so-odd or $100 and whatever million over the next few years that he wanted, and hindsight's 20/20, but there was a negotiation process that was being manipulated by Freddie Freeman's agent, not Freddie Freeman. But listen, and I love Matt Olson. He's probably right now, you ask me tomorrow, it might be different, but he's probably my favorite Brave right now. He's a hometown kid, Atlanta kid, who's a home run hitter that plays good defense at first. We've talked about that on this show. But Freddie Freeman, we should not have ever known life as Braves fans without Freddie Freeman until he retired.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman. I thought Freddie Freeman, and I thought Dansby Swanson both. I thought they'd both be Braves for life.
Yeah.
But I don't. These days, nobody's a certain player franchise for life. It just rarely happens anymore. And listen, Matt Olson, will he be a Brave 5 years from now? No, I don't know. Will Freddie Freeman be a Dodger 5 years from now? I don't know. These days, you don't know. I'll promise you this. Juan Soto will not be New York Met for 15 years. He is right now, and he probably will be for the next 7 or 8 years. But I could see that changing, being traded.
Yeah, some payment being picked up by the team where
Absolutely.
they say, hey, go ahead and retire and we'll keep paying you.
Because that's the way professional sports is, especially Major League Baseball. Guys are just traded and sent off packing somewhere else down the road. At the time it happens, it's really tough. When Freddie Freeman left the Braves, that was really tough. Now, luckily for the Braves, they got a really good first baseman in return. But today, Freddie Freeman's a little bit better overall first baseman.
He just won the Dodgers a World Series.
Yeah, than Matt Olson. Matt Olson hit 50-some-odd home runs a couple years ago. But, man, Freddie Freeman has all the tools. He can hit the power. He doesn't have the power that Olson has, but as far as a pure hitter,
yeah,
he's the best pure first baseman as far as a hitter that there is.
Yeah, if you want to relate Freddie Freeman to a couple players that we've talked about here recently, one of them about to be in the Hall of Fame, I think, Pete Rose, he can spray the ball all over the field. Pete Rose did that. Tony Gwynn did that. People are like, oh, people that don't really know baseball but like to pretend they do. Oh, Tony Gwynn, what a power hitter. Guy hit like 100-something home runs in his career. He wasn't a power hitter, but he could put the ball wherever he wanted to in the outfield, in gaps in the infield. Freddie Freeman is that guy. He's a doubles machine because he can hit it right in between two players because he just sees the ball that good.
Yeah. Freddie Freeman has a great eye, and like I said, he can hit it the opposite way very effectively. And he, we all know he can hit with power. He doesn't try to hit home runs.
If you hang him up there, he'll take
you out. But he can hit a bad pitch. He can hit a pitch right down the middle and do whatever he wants to do with it. So he's one of the premier hitters in all of Major League Baseball. And it's a shame that he's not an Atlanta Brave. But he's not, and you got to go on without him. And that same holds true with any player in the major leagues. Every player is replaceable because you know why? Every player will be replaced at some point. So I know that people get their hearts broken when a very popular player like a Freddie Freeman or Dansby Swanson is traded or let go to goes to another team. It's hard for certain certain fans to accept that.
Yeah, there's definitely an emotional connection to certain players. Max Fried, another one of those guys.
Yeah,
it's tough for me to watch him pitch in pinstripes. It's really tough because he's a guy, and it came out this week earlier. It was kind of leaked that apparently the Braves were in some conversation with him for a record-breaking pitching contract. Think about some of the pitchers the Braves have had and paydays and things of that sort. They were in negotiations and it fell through, and then he became a Yankee. So that hearing that was disheartening as well.
You look at Skeens right now with the Pirates. He's not going to be with the Pirates for 5 years from now. He's not. They can't afford him.
Yeah.
And his trade value is so high right now.
Listen, my son is a huge Paul Skeens fan. Loves him. But yesterday, and I hope Josh is listening because I'm just throwing so much shade at him. He was ready to trade half the Braves roster for Paul Skeens yesterday on this show.
Is that right?
He was throwing some names out. Let's go get – and listen, I honestly, though, even though I'm kind of giving Josh a hard time, I wouldn't be against sending 4 or 5 guys for him. He is a generational talent.
He is, but I've seen guys like this. I mean, what was the guy? Gosh, he played for the Padres. He was all everything coming out of college.
Are you talking about the San Diego State pitcher? That,
yeah, I was it's San Diego Padres, San Diego State.
And went on to the Nationals.
To Washington, and he won the same. But coming out of college, you thought, oh, this guy's going to win 3 or 4 Cy Young awards, and he just didn't live up. And his last name starts with an S.
How am I not thinking of this?
Strasburg?
Yeah, Steven Strasburg. That's exactly what it was.
That's who. And I always sit there and I go, will Skeens do what happened to Strasburg? We don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he'll be a guy like a Tom Seaver, can pitch power baseball for 15 years. But I always worry about guys like that. But the Pirates can't keep guys like him. They can't.
Yeah.
He'll end up with the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Mets, or maybe the Braves. You never know. But he won't be a Pirate for the next – in 5 years, he will not be a Pittsburgh Pirate. I can just about guarantee you that.
Yeah, and you mentioned this being a Reds fan. The Reds, the Pirates alike, that's a small market team. Yeah. Those are small market teams.
Ellie Cruz will not be a Red in 5 years. He'll be with another Major League team. He may not even be a shortstop. They may move him into the outfield. But I'm telling you, small market teams like that, they can't hold it all on these guys. They just can't.
They end up becoming Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, or Cubs.
That's right.
That's just how it's been.
That's exactly how it's been. And until baseball gets a salary cap, which is not going to happen, that's the way it's always going to happen.
Yeah, and one thing that I do like
the Phillies. The Phillies are big spenders,
yeah,
too.
They've been spending money here recently. You can definitely put them in that category. But you look at teams like the Angels, who are playing really good baseball right now. Ron Washington, former Braves third base infield coach, is the manager there now, playing good baseball. They just swept the Dodgers, by the way. They've kind of teetered. They've played in that territory with guys like Ohtani, Mike Trout, where they sign these guys to big contracts, but they don't really bolster their team in areas like the bullpen where they need to.
Right.
Or they'll have 1 or 2 starting pitchers, and then there's a huge drop-off.
A huge gap, right.
And I do think Ron Washington is kind of bringing a different mentality there. Like, listen, we're either going to be big spenders like the Dodgers, or we need to build a team like the Braves do as like a mid-market where you're not really a small market, but you're just outside that big-time market as well, where we're going to spend some money, but we got to do it tactfully.
Yeah, the Braves, like, you got different tiers, like you just said. We've got like 5-6 teams that are in that upper tier. The Braves are in that tier just behind them.
Yeah.
Because Atlanta is a really big city. It really is.
And with the battery, they're starting to bring in the revenue.
And then you got your small markets like your Kansas Cities, your Cincinnatis, your Pittsburghs, franchises like that. They just cannot compete with.
And then at the bottom of the outhouse, you have the A's, who have no city as a home right now.
And that's a shame, man. And then you got the Miami Marlins, Tampa, who they got great minor league systems. They'll bring up guys.
Yeah.
And, they're like the Pirates. They're going to keep a star for a few years, and then it's ship them off to someone else for a bunch of prospects.
Yep.
And that's unfortunate. That's just the reality of Major League Baseball, because there's such a difference between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
It's kind of like college football, where you got the Alabamas and Georgias of the world, and then you got Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then you got then you got Purdue and Kentucky. They cannot win a national championship. They can be competitive and go to a nice bowl here and there, but and that's where it is in Major League Baseball. You've got the Pirates, the Reds, the Royals, and they can't compete with the Dodgers and the Phillies of the world.
Yeah, and you look at the Royals as one of those teams who, listen, they won a World Series, I believe it was 2016-ish, maybe,
something like
15, 16. And
it was a perfect storm.
It took them building up their system, their minor league system, those guys coming up together, kind of like what you saw from the Braves in the early 90s. The difference is the Braves were able to keep maintaining it. The Royals had to sell the house because these guys got so good. They couldn't keep them, and they didn't continue. They were trading away those minor league pieces to finally get that World Series, and now they're at the bottom starting over again. But, hey, listen, we got to give you enough time to pick your positions here, so we're going to dive right in to the Atlanta Braves. Listen, it is a big day. We're going to call it Spencer Strider Day because he was reinstated yesterday and will start for the Atlanta Braves tonight. Yes, I repeat, Spencer Strider on the mound for the Braves tonight. Forget what's happened with him early this season, 0-1, 3.6 ERA. Who cares? The guy has been throwing lights out in the minor leagues. They say he's ready to go. He's ramped up. Excited to have him back on the bump for the Atlanta Braves tonight, taking on the let me make sure I get this right. Washington Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I almost started spitting off the Red Sox series stuff I have in front of me here. But yeah, the Braves, who are 24-23, currently third in the National League East, 5 games out of first place there, are taking on the Nationals here in a 3-game series. Up there in Washington, Nationals currently 4th in the NL East. So, this is a series where you got Strider on the bump, win game 1, he looks good, and come back home at Acuna. This could be a downhill train for the Atlanta Braves. Possibility of Craig Kimbrell coming to help the back end of your bullpen. A lot of stuff going on, but got to start with tonight. First pitch, 7:10. Again, Spencer Strider versus Mitchell Parker, who's 3-3 for the Nationals with a 4.32 ERA. And that game will be on Mix 104.1 only tonight, as we're going to have NBA Western Conference Finals here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota and Oklahoma City. I think this is going to be a competitive series. I like Oklahoma City's overall team, but I think Minnesota's going to make it interesting. It should be fun to watch. I'm more interested in the West than I am the East. I really am.
Yes.
I know the Knicks and the Pacers are there, but I'm more interested in what's going on in the Western Conference in the NBA.
Yeah. Over in the Eastern Conference, Pacers and Knicks, that game tomorrow at 8 p.m., and that'll be here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3 as well. So full coverage of the NBA Conference Finals as those are getting kicked off. But going back to our Atlanta Braves, Jim, I tell you what, very excited to see Spencer Strider back on the mound and the difference maker that he is going to be. Health is not an issue. So I know he's coming off of a stint where, he felt something, he tweaked something. It was precaution.
Yeah,
it was pure precaution, and they wanted to rest until, hey, there's nothing there. We're good. We're stretching. He's a freak as far as the stretching routine, the lifting routine, the yoga type stuff routine that he does to keep his body in tip-top shape. So it was a big deal that he was able to say, hey, this isn't right. We need to make sure I'm okay so I can get through this season. And it sounds like the man is ready to go.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching him on the bump tonight, see how he looks and everything. So, yeah, good for the Braves getting these guys back. I'm looking forward to Ronald Acuna more than anyone. I just love to watch this guy play. He plays with a style that I'm really attracted to, watching a guy with power and speed like him.
Yeah.
So I love watching guys like him. So that's who I'm looking for.
He's an electric player, and Josh said this on the show yesterday. Him and Jake were talking about it. They fully expect Acuna to make his debut for this season once the Braves come back home. They don't want to do that on the road, and I think Josh was spot on. Listen, and this has been the Give Josh Rogers a Hard Time show today, just because he gave me a hard time. He said I gave him one first. It's a merry-go-round. We're going to keep it rolling here on the drive. But, excited for the Braves once again. Tonight, 7:10, first pitch, Spencer Strider versus Mitchell Parker as the Bravos get started with this series up in D.C. against the Nats. Hopefully we can stay above 500 and never look back. That's the goal right now.
Well, they've definitely overcome that 0-7 start to begin the season. So, the Braves, if they get it going pretty good, get back home, get Acuna healthy, and then make a little bit of a run with they've got some room to they got to make up some room that the Phillies and Mets have put over them, but they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last little bit of Braves news that I have right here is Chipper Jones and Marquise Grissom. Did you hear about this? They're set to manage the All-Stars futures game, and listen to this staff for Chipper Jones' team. He's got Mark DeRosa, Andrew Jones, Tim Hudson, Tyler Flowers, and Nick Markakis on his coaching staff for the futures game. And then Marquise Grissom, another, Braves-heavy, awesome coaching staff. Jerry Manuel, Marvin Freeman, former Braves pitcher, Fred McGriff, Del Murphy, and Johnny Estrada. So those two groups of former Braves pretty much are going to be taking these young guys and having some fun with them in the All-Star Futures game.
Got the crime dog, Fred McGriff. I love that guy. He was so good, man. Tommy Mansky, the hitting instructor.
Hitting made simple.
Yeah. I loved it, man. Good stuff, man. I'm glad to see Atlanta getting the All-Star game.
Yeah, I miss those commercials, by the way.
Yeah.
Hitting made simple. But anyway, listen, the last time the Braves had the All-Star game scheduled,
pulled out from underneath them.
It was taken away, but the Braves went on and won the World Series.
Yep, that's right.
So another All-Star game in Atlanta scheduled. Let's go win another World Series. But hey, with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got to transition over to college football a little bit more. Jim is going to pick his all-time team for college football. We've dove in a little bit today talking about that, but we also got to talk about some rivalries. There's a risk of one of the historic rivalries maybe disappearing, and we know that a lot of that is due to this conference expansion. We're going to talk more about that when we come back here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
When life gets busy, Little Caesars can be there to help with hot and ready pizzas and more from 4 to 8 p.m. You can't beat the taste of delicious pizza at a great price and hot and ready for dinner. 3 locations, Paul Huff, Key Street, and McGrady Drive, or order online.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking. By you. Donate at V.org. Because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell.
Hey guys, this is Dan Good from Crown. Just reminding you that Crown Jeep is Cleveland and Bradley County's Jeep headquarters.
When you need a new roof, it's all about trust. Your home is too big an investment and you can't afford to make a mistake. Cleveland Plywood has the products and expertise you're looking for. Contractors have trusted them for over 50 years, and they carry only proven products from reputable suppliers like IKO. IKO Cambridge is one of the heaviest weight asphalt shingles you can buy, and their limited warranties are among the industry's best. Protect the investment you've made in your home. Go with the pros at Cleveland Plywood, 2700 20th Street Northeast in Cleveland. Call 472-3357.
It's the Cleveland Tire Center annual Memorial Day sale. Buy 3 tires, get the 4th free with a free alignment check. Teachers, first responders, 10% off your purchase. Bridgestone, Firestone, and Goodyear. The Cleveland Tire Center Memorial Day sale on now. Cleveland Tire Center, North Lee Highway, Cleveland.
Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Visit milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682. Magnolia Dental Center of Cleveland wants to welcome you to the Magnolia family, a local dental clinic that uses their God-given knowledge and skills to bless our community through dentistry. From checkups and cleanings to dentures and all-on-4 dental implants, they can help you feel healthier and more confident. Conveniently located at 2190 Chambliss Avenue, join the Magnolia family today. Call 423-476-3307 for your free exam and x-rays.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 1013, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 1013. Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Welcome back to The Drive. Andy Morris here along with Jim Gum, who is about to be making his all-time college football picks by position, and we'll be getting that started with tight end here in just a moment. But, Jim, listen, we were talking about some stuff during the break, going into the break, about some of the best college football rivalries. And listen, you're an Ohio State guy. It goes without saying. I think Michigan-Ohio State is probably the biggest rivalry, in my opinion, the biggest rivalry in college football. I don't think it's really debatable, but another one of those that's been in the mix is the Notre Dame-USC rivalry, which goes back, that's the one of the longest-running intersectional rivalries in college football. And it sounds like it's in jeopardy of ending as USC is not wanting to renew. Currently, I believe it's 2026. Not this upcoming, but the next season is the last year in the contract, and USC has been crickets when trying to extend this contract.
Well, if they allow this thing to end, to me, it's a travesty. Listen, I mean, we've seen some good rivalries get halted. Texas A&M didn't get played for a long, long time until Texas re-entered. They entered the SEC. Now they're playing again. That was ridiculous. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, Bedlam is not being played anymore. That's ridiculous. Penn State, Pitt play occasionally, but that's a great rivalry that went away for the most part. USC and Notre Dame, there should be no way on God's green earth that rivalry is not played each and every year. That's one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football. And I cannot imagine not seeing, listen, when it's played at Notre Dame, it's played in mid-October. When it's played out there in California, it's late November. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that.
USC's not trying to come to South Bend in the wintertime.
No,
not trying to do it.
But they've always done it like that, which is fine. I'm okay with it. But they've got to make sure this rivalry is played each and every year. I don't care if USC has to play 9 Big Ten games a year. They knew what they were signing up for when they decided to join the Big Ten. They wanted a big payday. Well, listen, USC, you got to continue playing this Notre Dame rivalry. It's the best intersectional rivalry in college football when it comes to they cross the country. It's not like it's like Ohio State, Michigan, or an interstate rivalry where it's Ohio State. I mean, when it's Alabama, Auburn, you've got to play this game each and every year. And I think cooler heads will prevail. I think USC will renew this rivalry because I think there's going to be enough pressure on them. They'll be forced to do that. So hopefully, this is a small blip, that it's just a bad rumor that doesn't hold water.
Yeah, and I hope you're right. But talking about rivalries in college football, again, I truly think Ohio State Michigan is the biggest, just because not only is it so much history there, but it's heated each and every year. It seems like there's a narrative surrounding it. Outside of that, what would you consider the next biggest, or do you disagree with me? Do you think Alabama Auburn?
I do think it's Alabama Auburn, but I think but Auburn needs to step it up, because there's too many number 3 ranked Alabama versus unranked Auburn games out there.
Yes,
Auburn needs to get ranked, and they have to have a really good record for this rivalry to maintain their number 2 status, because if it's not them, it is USC Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It is USC Notre Dame.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Texas and Oklahoma is really,
say,
really high.
Used to be called the Red River Shootout. Now it's the Red River Rivalry, because we can't talk about shooting stuff.
Oh yeah,
apparently.
that's politically incorrect. So I think Texas, Oklahoma is right there. But USC and Notre Dame, they don't take a backseat to many other rivalries out there, because usually it has when I say national implications, USC and Notre Dame has national implications, just like Texas, Oklahoma, like Alabama, Auburn, like Michigan, Ohio State. The outcome of that game determines a lot of what's going on nationally. That's why those rivalries are so important. The one thing, like I said, about Alabama, Auburn, there's too many recent games where Alabama is top 5 ranked and Auburn's maybe 23rd, 24th, or unranked.
Yeah.
If that doesn't improve, then that Alabama-Auburn rivalry takes a hit.
And listen, moments like the kick six.
Oh my gosh.
Those big moments are so memorable in those big rivalry games, specifically talking Alabama Auburn. Another one that I would put in the mix of that, just because, listen, you talk about early 90s, Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Bowden, Steve Spurrier, that's a more recent big-time rivalry.
And the Florida State-Miami rivalry was great, too. But ever since Miami entered the ACC, they just have not lived up to what they're supposed to be. They have not won an ACC title since they joined.
That's wild.
And that's ridiculous.
That's wild.
But I think, like I said, like those Florida teams, when they play each other, there was a lot of hate there. Florida State, Miami, like I said, when Bobby Bowden was there and you had Jimmy Johnson or Erickson was the head coach, I mean, you didn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
But no, over time, this Notre Dame USC rivalry doesn't take a backseat to many other rivalries out there. So they got to get this thing renewed. If they don't, I'll really be upset with USC.
Yeah. Hey, so real quick, the ACC, this is some big news today that was reported on, gave a conference record $45 million per school. That's the 14 members of the ACC received $45 million in 23-24. And comparing that to the SEC, which gave their teams $53 million. So not far off from that for the ACC. No. People are talking about the ACC being in jeopardy. Listen, whenever your TV deals are bringing you that kind of money that you can pay out to your teams, and that's having Cal and Stanford in the ACC now.
And SMU.
Yeah, and SMU, a part of that TV deal. The ACC is not in as bad of a spot as people think.
No, they're not as bad of a spot as the Big 12. I think the Big 12 took a much bigger hit than the ACC has. I really fully believe that the ACC. I think right now Florida State and Clemson are pretty happy right now. We'll see. 4 or 5 years down the road if they maintain that happiness. But right now, the ACC, listen, I hate the way these conferences have expanded. I hate that the Pac-12 is no longer. I think that's bad for college football.
I think they're going to try to make a comeback, though.
I wish that no conference had more than 10 teams, 12 max. But these 14, 15, 16 team leagues, it's too big.
Yeah, the mega conferences. But it does sound like the Pac-12, now the Pac-2, really putting in the work, trying to rebuild that conference. It's not going to be the same.
No.
Like when you think classic Pac-12, one of my favorite things on a Saturday evening was after all the SEC, Big Ten, and Notre Dame, after those games were over, I could turn on Pac-12 after dark, Pac-10 after dark, and watch some good West Coast California-based talent between USC, UCLA, Oregon State,
Washington State,
Cal. Listen,
Arizona State.
Yeah, that was some good football.
Yeah, it's a shame what's happened out there, and I do believe that at some point we'll see like a Cal and Stanford re-enter the Pac-12. I don't think they'll maintain the ACC, where they are at right now. I do believe it's going to be hard to remove Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA.
I think they're locked.
Because the money's so big in the Big Ten. But I do believe at some point we'll see Cal and Stanford re-enter the Pac-12 or whatever they'll be called. So anyway, all right, I'm going to give you. We're going to get back to the my picks as far as.
And listen, it is 6 o'clock. We're going overtime today.
Okay. So we were talking about we're going to give 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 2 quarterbacks. So here are my tight ends. I really wanted to go Brock Bowers, but he was already taken. So I'm going to go Tyler Warren. He played last year at Penn State. I really like this guy. I think he's going to be a big-time star in the NFL. So I'm going to give you Tyler Warren, and then Kellen Winslow Jr., who played at Miami. I love this guy, and I know his pro career wasn't what his dad's was, Kellen Winslow Sr., who played at Missouri, but as a collegiate tight end, I think Kellen Winslow Jr. is going to be my second tight end.
Hey, the infamous media session, I'm a soldier. Remember that?
Oh, Lord, yeah. That's a soundbite that'll live on forever. All right, running backs. I know we got 2, and here are the 4 finalists for me. I had Barry Sanders, Eric Dickerson, Billy Sims at Oklahoma, and Marcus Allen at USC. I'm going to go with Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson, with Billy Sims and Marcus Allen just barely on the outside looking in. I think those 4 guys, I loved all 4 of those guys. All right, my wide receivers, I've got Chris Carter, played at Ohio State. What hands he had. Lynn Swann at USC, Carl Pickens, Tennessee, and Jamar Chase, LSU. So those are my 4 wide receivers. Again, Chris Carter, Lynn Swann, Carl Pickens, and Jamar Chase. I like my wide receiving team, man.
That's pretty solid.
Pretty solid, man. Lynn Swann, extremely underrated as a collegiate player in the 70s with USC. Chris Carter in the 80s with Ohio State. Carl Pickens with Tennessee. And Jamar Chase, of course, with LSU. My 2 quarterbacks, I am going against what I preached earlier in the show. I'm going with a small guy. But I love Doug Flutie at Boston College. Just tremendous quarterback there at Boston College. And then give me Joe Burrow, LSU. I'm sorry, man. He was a great collegiate quarterback there at LSU. So those are my 2 QBs. So Doug Flutie and Joe Burrow. So those are my skill position guys. And, man, it was hard coming down with just 2 running backs. Because how do you leave Billy Sims and Marcus Allen off your team? But I had to. Because I love Barry Sanders, and I was a huge Eric Dickerson fan when he was with the Pony Express there at SMU. To me, still my favorite 30 for 30, Pony Excess.
Yes,
you ever see that one?
It's great. It is great.
Oh, my gosh. I love it. I think the Miami 30 for 30 and Pony Excess, maybe they're my 2 favorite 30 for 30s.
So have you seen the U Part 2?
Yes,
the
I
continuation.
have.
Those are so
good. It was good. It wasn't as good as the U Part 1. And I'll tell you the other one, Marcus Dupree, the running back.
I believe that one was called The Best That Never Was.
Best That Never Was. That's up there too. And all of mine are football related, man.
Oh yeah.
Although I'll tell you, most underrated 30 for 30 was the Duke Lacrosse.
Yes, that was a good one.
Oh my
Very
gosh,
good.
That's an awesome one.
Talk about some young men that were put through the ringer over
Big
some
time.
false allegations.
Big time false they were allegedly raping these girls.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Listen,
they were found guilty by everyone. And they were
by mainstream media.
Then they were proven not guilty in the court of law, man.
Yeah, that goes to show you, good old trusty mainstream media.
Yes.
The news got a hold of that one and blew it out of proportion. But
Big time.
Listen, so obviously my favorite 30 for 30, Catholics versus convicts.
Oh,
absolutely
gosh.
Love that one. Love that one.
And
we're kicking off the season next year, by the way. Catholics versus convicts, Notre Dame versus Miami.
I cannot wait.
I'm so fired up for that.
And there's another. They didn't play each other every year, but they played often enough that when they would play against each other, man, it was like top 5, top 10 ranked each and every time.
It was a big deal.
And it was huge, huge national implications. Miami versus Notre Dame when Lou Holtz was the coach and Jimmy Johnson. I mean, it was brutal. I'll never forget the time when Jimmy Johnson was the head coach at Miami. And it was Jerry Faust was the head coach. I mean, and they ran up the score.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone said.
It was
they
bad.
absolutely ran up the score.
It was like 52-3 or something crazy.
And they kept pouring it on. And Miami had a huge, advantage talent-wise. But man, when Lou Holtz got to Notre Dame, Miami versus Notre Dame was must-see TV. Man, you had to watch that game. That's a great rivalry that's not played often enough as well.
Yeah, so that's one that I'm excited about next year just because of the history to it. But do you remember the famous one line from Lou Holtz to his team before that game against Jimmy Johnson's Miami Hurricanes? They got into a skirmish on the field. It was the same year as the Catholics versus Convicts T-shirt, and Miami took exception to it.
Yeah,
and I believe the stat is that there were actually more Catholic players on Miami's team at the time than there was playing on Notre Dame's team.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
they got into the skirmish on field pregame. They go into the locker room, and Lou Holtz to his team said, listen, we're going to go out there. We're going to follow the rules. We're going to beat them on the field, but we're going to beat them up. And when we do it, he said, but I've got one thing after the game. You save Jimmy Johnson's ass for me.
Oh, Lord.
And listen, Lou Holtz, a little tiny guy with a lisp, man.
Yeah.
But his team erupted, and they took the field.
And I remember Notre Dame Stadium has just the one tunnel at the one end of the field that both teams came out of that same tunnel.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've seen skirmishes erupt at Michigan Stadium, same field.
That has since changed, by the way.
Yeah, but you had both teams, Miami and Notre Dame, both coming out of the same tunnel at the same time. That's where the issue of a lot happens because, usually you have one team come all the way out and they run on the field before the other team even starts to exit their locker room. That didn't happen, man. And golly, that was some... that brings back so many memories of mine. I love the Miami Notre Dame rivalry, if you will. But like you said, you talk going back to the Miami USC, the Notre Dame USC rivalry. You cannot let that rivalry go away. Let me ask you something, Andy. You may remember in 2020 during the pandemic, they didn't play each other that year, did they?
That is the 1 year over the past, I believe, 100 years that they did not play outside of World War II.
Yeah, and boy, that's you got to play this game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And with the expansion of the playoffs, 12, maybe 14, maybe 16, the loser of that game is not going to be out of the running for the playoffs. That's why they got to the regular season cannot be crucified for being afraid to lose a game.
Yeah.
And that to me, and that's the one thing that's holding the SEC back from going from 8 to 9 conference games. Going like, oh, that's just one extra conference game. If you got the playoffs of 12 to 16, you're going to see some 3-loss teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, you will.
You will.
We almost saw it this year.
We almost saw it this past year. We will see it if it goes to 14 or 16. So you've got a little gray area there. You'll still make the playoffs. Do not hurt our fandom by not having USC and Notre Dame. For crying out loud, that would be a travesty. And I don't think they will. I do think USC will eventually sign up to extend this rivalry.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Hey, real quick, got to give a shout out to Mayfield Milk. For over 100 years, Mayfield Dairy has been delivering farm fresh dairy beloved by Southern families. In 1983, Mayfield introduced its iconic yellow jug, which protects the flavor and nutrients in the milk. Learn more about Mayfield today at mayfielddairy.com. Once again, mayfielddairy.com.
By the way,
we appreciate them for our Braves coverage.
I've got to run to the store when I get done from here, and I'm going to buy me some 2% Mayfield milk.
I'm a whole milk guy, man.
You're the whole milk stuff?
I'm packing it on.
I'm the 2%. I'll even drink the 1%. I will. I mean, a lot of people say it's a little too watered down, but I love it. But I'm a 2% guy.
Yeah. Hey, last thing we got, we're going to wrap it up, but going overtime here on the drive today. Jim, you put together a list here.
It's ESPN's list.
Okay, so, and it's the top 10 coaches in college football at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby Smart, pretty much, I think he got 11 of the 12 first-place votes. Ryan Day's number 2. Dabo Swinney, you can make an argument for Dabo Swinney being ranked a little bit higher than that.
He's won a couple national titles.
2 national championships. Marcus Freeman, number 4, your guy. Steve Sarkisian, number 5. You got Dan Lenning, Oregon. I think he's a really up-and-coming coach. Kalen DeBoer there at Alabama is number 7. You got James Franklin, number 8. Kyle Whittingham, I don't think I'd have Whittingham at number 9 anymore. I think he's lost it a little bit. And you got Matt Campbell at number 10. So 9 and 10, I could see a couple other guys being in there. Your opinion on Brian Kelly? Is he a top 10 coach?
He's notably outside of that top 10 list, rightfully so. He cannot win the big game.
Now, I do believe that Lincoln Riley and Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel, you can make an argument for 2 of those 3 guys to be in at number 9 and 10.
Listen, any argument for Lincoln Riley at this point, completely unproven at USC. He's not done anything at USC.
He's got the number 1 recruiting class in the country right now.
Well, do they give you a trophy for that?
No, they don't. But I believe that he is a top 10 coach.
Playing ball on Saturdays, he has underachieved up to this point at USC. Obviously, we saw what he could do at Oklahoma. Had some really good teams there. Until he does something at USC, and listen, I'm on the USC hate train right now.
I can see that.
With the risk of losing that rivalry, and it sounds like he's at the driver's seat of that. He doesn't want to play that game.
Let me ask you
he wants
something.
a weaker schedule.
Do you miss playing Michigan every year?
I absolutely do.
I mean, USC Michigan used to always be an early season game, and
Notre Dame, Michigan, yeah.
What did I say?
USC.
Oh, yeah. Notre Dame, Michigan. Every year they'd play early games, and it was fun. I loved it.
Specifically over the last 2 years, can you imagine Michigan, Notre Dame?
Oh, my gosh.
And I know all our Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia fans are saying, listen, enough Notre Dame, but Lincoln Riley does not deserve to be in that top 10 list. He does not right now. Not right now. If he goes out and has a winning season next year or makes the playoff, throw him back in the mix. But right now, Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel, in my opinion, doing way better than Lincoln Riley is. He might lose his job at USC if he has another bad season.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you talk about making the playoffs, I mean, Josh Heupel has made the playoffs. Lane Kiffin never has.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin has never made it. So I'd give Josh Heupel the edge over Lane Kiffin right now. And that's a current Vol head coach versus a former Vol head coach.
Yeah.
So
listen, some good college football conversation today, Jim.
Every day, man, we'll bring something college football related to this show.
Jim got his picks in, excited for that. As we continue to critique each other, Josh has critiqued me enough.
Let me ask you something. If I go home tonight and about 2 o'clock in the morning and I have another name pop in, am I allowed to change it, or am I locked in now? Which I'm okay if I'm locked in.
Since you were late in the game, we'll give you.
No, lock me in.
We'll give you a voucher. No, we'll give you a voucher. If you need one that you need to change out, we can get that done, because we stole some good players off the board before you could get on.
Because I think wide receiver, I'm going to come up with someone else besides the guys I've got. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Listen, good show today. Again, talking some local sports. Spring game tonight, 7 o'clock over at Bradley as they take on Ray County. Again, that's spring football. Go check that out. The Feisty Phillies, Walker Valley Lady Mustang softball, was scheduled to play. That game was canceled. Will take place tomorrow in Murfreesboro at the Spring Fling, and that game will be at the Starplex Field 3 for anyone planning to make the trip up to Murfreesboro. So that's some local sports stuff that we wanted to be sure to highlight and talk about that's going on tonight and tomorrow. With that, for Jim Gum, I'm Andy Morris. We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow at 5 o'clock right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Have a great day, everybody.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 101.3, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.